Solly's still finishing his school.
Yeah, I told him to hang up his shirts like 15 times last night. He's still did it all day long on the floor.
You guys see me? Am I live? We good? Can you hear me? All right. Solly, why on earth would you do that? Just finish your school. Oh, you don't want to go in front of the camera. I see. That's awful nice. You can go in front of the camera. Solomon hasn't finished his school yet. He did such a good job yesterday. He was done before lunch. And then today, it's bedtime and he's not done. So, yeah. That boy. Hey there, April. Hey, Gigi. Hey, Vicky and Minnie Mouse and Lynn. Good to see you guys. Give people a chance to join up. We're already getting pretty high up there. I guess people were waiting. I apologize being so late. I went to go do the clothes shopping at Walmart for the stuff that I was going to get there, which is basically all the pants, shorts, socks, underwear, belts, and shoes that I could get. And I got all that stuff done, thankfully, and they're sitting right here. Someone said they'd like seeing Andrea put all the color stripes in it, and I think I'm definitely going to try to get some sort of iron-on name taggy things instead, because some of the clothes don't have good places to mark them, and then they fade away, and so I think maybe some sort of iron-on colored dots would be great. But we'll see what we have available. Yeah, my eye is still, I got a sty in my eye. If you guys haven't been following yet, I still got one. So, well, I'm glad you're here, Mary Lou. Hopefully you'll be recovering here pretty well. My eye's doing better, though. It's definitely better today. It doesn't hurt as bad, and I think it's starting to swell less. So, it is what it is. Eden and Justice went with me clothes shopping, and I got them some Lunchables to eat for dinner because I had to leave basically right after my store closed. I finished my business stuff. Don't wink too hard. Give people a chance, a little bit to join up here at 73. Sounds good. Good to see you, Hope. Hey, Yvette. I was thinking we can make some Lunchables. The Lunchables my kids always eat are the pizza ones, which is just basically a piece of cracker bread and some sauce with some shredded cheese. I could totally make a whole bunch of those. I was busy. I didn't actually have a whole lot of jobs in my shop. Today's Wednesday, so today's the day I stay in my shop all day, and I had some computers to build. I had 4 computers to build. That took me some time, and cleaned up the office and got things going. But it was pretty busy.
Dad, for some reason there's 2 nears, but like, why couldn't they just make one of them like beer? Because that
I don't know.
And there's not beer.
Just keep doing your school, buddy. Finish it up. Good evening, Veronica. Hey, Janet. Hello, Nanny Pat. 90. Okay. I think we can get started here. We don't need to hang around quite so late because I already made you guys wait an extra too long. So, all right, so we're going to do Acts 12. So if you're familiar or new to the Bible study, what we do is we read through and follow along on the chapter, and then we go back and through and talk. And I'd encourage you guys, if there's things that speak to you or jump out at you, to share them. Don't think that they're stupid or dumb, because there is no stupid or dumb things except people that think they know everything. So that's none of us here, hopefully. I generally try not to act like I know everything, but I know I struggle with that sometimes. So tell me what you think about these things, and I'll tell you what I think, and we all have a little conversation here. I don't want to just be one person talking. So yes, so we're gonna get things going. The light behind me is probably just at a level of causing the lighting on the camera to mess up, so depending on where I'm sitting, it's looking like it's flashing, but it'll get dark here soon. Alright, here we go. Acts 12.
Acts 12. It was about this time that King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. When he saw that this pleased the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter also. This happened during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up.
"Quick, get up,"
he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said to him,
"Put on your clothes and sandals.
and Peter did so.
Wrap your cloak around you and follow me,"
the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea that what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they had walked the length of one street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said,
"Now I know without a doubt that the Lord sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were anticipating."
When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, where many people had gathered and were praying. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed she ran back without opening it and exclaimed,
"Peter is at the door!"
"You're out of your mind,"
they told her. When she kept insisting that it was so, they said,
"It must be his angel."
But Peter kept on knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet and described how the Lord had brought him out of prison.
"Tell James and the brothers about this,"
he said, and then he left for another place. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. After Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined the guards and ordered that they be executed. Then Herod went from Judea to Caesarea and stayed there a while. He had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon. They now joined together and sought an audience with him. Having secured the support of Blastus, a trusted personal servant of the king, they asked for peace, because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted,
"This is the voice of a god, not of a man!"
Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. But the word of God continued to increase and spread. When Barnabas and Saul had finished their mission, they returned from Jerusalem, taking with them John, also called Mark.
Okay. It just hit me. There's something I want to share about that story off of Josephus. I'm going to go grab my Josephus book real fast.
Hi.
Oh, was Solly spying over there? Ah, you wave at Solly? Solly, did you wave? Everybody liked that. Keep doing your work, buddy. Here we go, 268. I'm going to keep this open for when we get to this part. Sorry, let's see here. I don't know if I needed to waste all this time on this. I should have been more prepared. Thank you, guys. 272 is where he actually dies. I need both of those places. Here we go. Alright, these are the two places that I want to reference back here in a second. I'm just going to fold this page, and better yet, I'm going to use pieces of candy out of the B-box for bookmarks. Solly, do your school. Just because I took the lid off the B-box doesn't mean you need to get all upset.
You could eat it and then use a wrapper.
Okay, we'll get there. Alright, so Acts 12. Sorry about Anya. Sorry. I'm so sorry. It's tough to lose people. For darn sure. So it's the same time here. They're going to have... they started arresting people that persecuted the church. He has James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. That's not the James that wrote James. That's a different James. James that wrote James is the James brother of Jesus. This is James brother of John. So that's one of the disciples, one of the apostles. And when he saw this pleased the Jews, he sees Peter also. So look how big this is becoming here. My eye's getting better. I appreciate that, Shani Ray. After arresting him, they put him into prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. So he's being guarded by 16 men. Night before the trial, Peter's sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and 2 sentries stood at the entrance. So this is a big deal to have Peter. They obviously have grown to be quite a force for them to have taken such extremes. It's also possible that they've already heard about the other people breaking free out of jail. Paul was Yes, buddy, do your school. They get to ring a bell when they finish a goal. So he's very excited to ring the bell on camera. Anyway, so this is they're really guarding him big time. He's obviously a very important deal. It showed that this pleased the Jews, and so the Jews were obviously growing in animosity and not getting along with people, and so anything to have peace with them. It says he intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. So after the Passover, which is again the Jewish holiday, he didn't want to do any of this on the Jewish holiday. He wanted them to be there. So he wants the Jews specifically to be able to see this public trial of everybody. So Peter, sleeping between the two soldiers, bound with two chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. So here we go back to the Greek. Remember what I told you? Oh, wait a minute. It is not displaying on the screen for whatever reason. All right, sorry about that.
Okay.
You thought you had a good idea, but it was Solly ringing the bell? Okay, you gonna go score again?
Yeah. I just finished the page in less than a minute.
Less than a minute? Well, how come it's taking you an hour to do the page before I left?
I know it's because like.
Yeah, we're doing.
Like I have to do a circled one that has.
I see. Just go score it, buddy. I'm doing Bible study right now. So we go back to the Greek. What did I teach you guys about the word angel? The word angel is the word angelos in the Greek, and that is the word for messenger. So it says, suddenly a messenger of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. Does that mean he's not what we call an angel? No, he is an angel. It just needs to be known that the word is messenger. And it makes a difference because later on in this chapter, you'll start to see. So, and again, I'll show you that here. That's in verse 7. There we go. Angelos, right there. A messenger. It says especially an angel by implication. But it's really circular reasoning. We have the word angel in quotes here on this definition. And of course, where you get your definition, you go to the English dictionary, which says from the Greek, angelos, meaning a messenger. So it really bothers me that they put angel as a definition for angelos. It really just means messenger. So, yeah. So the deal is messenger. When it's God's messengers or other messengers, and I think they're both. I think there's definitely times where they're interpreted incorrectly. John the Baptist is called an angel. Let's actually, I kind of mentioned that a bunch of times. Let's look that up real fast so I can drive the point home. Luke 7:27. Let's just look at that real fast. Solly, do your school. This is talking about John the Baptist. What did you say? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, more than a prophet. Behold, it says here, utos estin peri u genete edu apostelo ton angelon. So we have here, it's interesting, angelon, that's angelos, that's the word for angel. It means messenger. They're not going to call John the Baptist an angel. So they correctly translate this messenger, but in reality it should just always be messenger. And then we can have a nice conversation. Do you suppose that was one of the messengers with the wings and the lightning clothes and all that? Or was it maybe possibly a human messenger? The other funny thing, word is apostello. That's what the word apostle. That's the word apostello is where we get apostle from. It actually says, I'm going to apostle my angel before you instead of send my messenger. But of course it's send my messenger. It's the form. Apostello is I send in the form that it is. But of course it's I send or they send. But when it says in the definitive, if it's one who was sent, the sendee, so to speak, they translated apostle, which again, it really should just be, again, still one who is sent out with a message. But I digress. That's where we're getting way off in the weeds now. But yeah, so John the Baptist is referred to here as an angelos. Clearly, John the Baptist is not an angel. He is a messenger. So
This is easy.
does Solly's reading comments count towards his homework? It's not loading. You can hit the refresh button. I guess you can't see this if it's not loading. So hopefully it's loading for you. So so suddenly an angel of the Lord, messenger of the Lord, appeared. Light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. Quick, get up, he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. So I always like to think about what actually is happening here. I don't know that stopping time is a thing. It's possible he put the guards to sleep. It's possible this is all happening in some sort of alternate dimension. But if you recall, he's standing between two guys. And there's 2 sentries outside, and he's got 2 chains on him. And so it says these chains fell off Peter's wrists. So I don't know how it works out. I like to just think about the logistics. Clearly these guards weren't aware that the chains fell off, or maybe they were seeing a vision of that Peter was fine. Not sure what actually happens there, but another thing that complicates the matter further, he strikes Peter on the side, so he hits Peter, so he's interacting with Peter. Peter obviously feels the hit, and is like, whoa, so he's woken up, and the chains fall off. And he says, quick, get up. So he's saying he doesn't have a lot of time. You're paying attention too much, Solly. Do your schoolwork.
Because it's less grade.
Yes, buddy, just you can do it, okay? Daddy's working on Bible study right now. So the angel is pressuring him to be quick about it. Like, we don't have much time. I don't know, I mean, whatever I did to them, they're going to snap out of it, or maybe they were asleep, or I don't know exactly what happened, but I like to think about possibly what actually transpired here. Put on your clothes and your sandals, and Peter did so. So then he had his clothes. They must have been close by. I mean, I don't know, maybe they're out in the office, or I don't know how the jail looked or where they were. That'd be pretty weird to chain him up and then put his clothes right next to him. So there's no telling. But of course, Peter thinks he's seeing a vision at this point. He doesn't think it's actually happening. So clearly this was surreal to him. Bible study is more interesting, yep. Wrap your cloak around you and follow me, the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea what the angel was actually happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. So they're passing all these guards, walking right out by them. And then it has the iron gate leading into the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. In the story, when the temple was destroyed in Josephus, it said the gates of the temple took 10 men to open. I'm not sure these are the same kind of gates, but I imagine it's not all that uncommon to have gates like that. So I find that just interesting. So I wonder if this is one of those gates. Either way, it opens by themselves. They went through it. When they had walked the length of one street, suddenly the messenger left him. So that's pretty neat. And then Peter came to himself. Isn't that a fun way to say it? It would be kind of, he snapped back to himself. You know, he started being aware of what was happening. He says, now I know without a doubt the Lord sent his messenger, his angel, and rescued me from Herod's clutches. And everything the Jewish people were anticipating.
Dad.
What, buddy? I can't keep doing this, little dude.
It says write the numbers in the correct blanks, but I don't know what to do even though.
So 15, 23, which one's greater? Is 15 greater than 23, or is 23 greater than 15?
Write the number that's...
It told you right there, buddy. It had an example. You can just look at the example. Go sit down.
Should I write 23?
I'm not telling you the answer, so you'll have to just figure it out. Which one is bigger than the other? If you don't know what 15 or 23 is bigger, maybe go back a couple maths for you, little dude.
Oh, so this is down here.
Make the sentence be correct. 23 is greater than 15 is the correct answer. Okay. I think this is the same Herod Agrippa that we're going to be talking about here pretty quick. Herod Agrippa was I think we're going to talk about it here. Yeah. It's got to be the same guy. Rescue him from Herod's clutches. So this is Herod Agrippa. So keep that in mind, because I'm going to read you another story about Herod Agrippa here. When this had dawned on him, again, I like dawned. I wonder what the word is there in the Greek. It's translated dawned on him. I can't imagine they actually used that way. Maybe they did. Acts 12. I already forgot. 12. Thinking about that. So it doesn't say dawn. That makes more sense. Sunidon. To think about. Okay, so it's not actually dawned. I would have been surprised if it had been. I don't think that they... Oh, that's the wrong person. What am I doing? Bible. Okay. When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John. It's also called Mark. I don't know if this is one of the Johns we know or Marys we know. There are lots of Marys, lots of Johns, lots of Marks in Bible times. So, no telling. Peter knocked on the outer entrance, and a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed, she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter is at the door." I mean, of course, if she recognized his voice and it's Peter at the door, of course, it says she was so overjoyed. I mean, that's the thing she said. But, the guy was just in jail, guarded by 20 dudes. So it's funny that she wouldn't be like, "Get in here right now." But, go to bed, baby girl. Go to your bed. My goodness. "You're out of your mind," they told her. I want to know the Greek term for that, too. I like learning weird customs like that. Is really intriguing to me and helps me grasp the language better. Oh, crazy. You are crazy. Ludipros avte ipan mane. I don't know that word. Medone. Menome. Craving. To rave like a maniac. So it literally says, they said, "You are a maniac." So, not as exciting as I wanted it to be. Some sort of trance or hypnotic state. Possibly. It's also possible that Peter was just so... it was so impossible that this was happening that maybe he thought it was just not happening. Clearly he was seeing the real thing when he was being let out of there. He was seeing what the real life. He just thought it was fake. So it shows you how vivid his visions could be, I'm sure. "You're out of your mind," they told her. When she kept insisting that it was so, they said, "It must be his angel? It must be his messenger." So people can see this and they think, "Oh, Peter has an angel. There's Peter's angel and there's John's angel and I have an angel, you have an angel." I think it's more appropriate. They thought it was his messenger. They thought it was a dude that Peter sent to go talk to them. I don't think it's trying to have some doctrine that Peter had a special angel. It's Peter's angel. I think it was his messenger. That's what I think. If he had an angel, I wouldn't know otherwise. But I think that's a more logical reasoning here with the words used for messenger. I wonder what the other versions say. My NASB here, I think I finally got that working. I wonder, NASB has been this is a New American Standard translation. It's been accused of being too literal, and of course, for translation's sake, that's pretty nice. "You're out of your mind. It's his angel." It's his messenger. So no, it still says the same thing. So NASB is very good for studying. If I had to do it over again, I would be playing the audio Bible in the NASB. But I grew up with the NIV 1984, and I've already had a lot memorized in it, and we've already been doing it for so many years. I think that it would actually cause more problems than it would solve, because the kids literally have these memorized. I have these memorized simply from hearing them so many times, hundreds and hundreds of times. And so I want that I imagine a screw being screwed into your head and getting it deeper and deeper and deeper until it becomes totally part of you. And that helps. The wording really helps. The dumb voices help. The dumb sound effects help. And so.
Dad.
What, buddy?
What about my reading?
How do you not hear? I just told you a little while. Don't do your reading, buddy. I told you already. Got to find your book. You don't know where your book is. You've lost it. And you're a very good reader, so we won't see your reading for fun. So when we find the book that you lost, we'll continue reading it, or Grandma Kitty will bring you a new one. Put on your clothes. Oh, let's see. Where are we at here? They opened the door and saw him. They were astonished. It's amazing to memorize so well. It's accidental. It really is. I mean, when you hear it so many times, it's like memorizing the songs to music. A lot of you can memorize songs really well, and it just happens. You don't have to sit down and say the words in your head over and over again for the songs. It fits and it flows. And after you've heard it so many times, with the background music especially, and the different pauses and things, and it becomes, you just start to learn it without even thinking about it. It's been quite beneficial to all my kids. When I was just playing it right now, when it was playing, Solomon said, "Hey, I know that story." I mean, he's 7 years old, and he knows the story just as well as, and he knows it. I'm just so proud of him. We're looking at Acts 12. Acts 12. So Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet and described how the Lord brought him out of prison. So he told them the whole story. And then he's got to leave. Why does he got to leave? Because he was just guarded by 20 men, and they are going to flip the heck out when they realize he's gone. So, and of course, where are they going to go? First place they're going to go is wherever this house is. So you can bet he did not want to be there. Why don't you sing us a song then? Yeah, nice try, Gigi. Nice try. And here we go. In the morning, let's see. Tell James and the brothers about this. Of course, that's not the James that was killed. This is, of course, James, the brother of Jesus. Which, when James was the brother of Jesus, he was no friend to Jesus when he was around, I don't think. So I think he probably realized who Jesus was at some point and became a believer and became one of these important people. So it was at this point, he says, he left for another place. It's likely when Jesus rose from the dead. I'm going to guess he appeared to James and he's like, "Hey, how's it going, buddy? Okay, I guess you are who you say you were." Then he left for another place. They didn't know where he went. They would have wrote it down. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. You think? They're guarded by 20 dudes, and he's gone. They're going to be in trouble. And of course, he was obviously a notorious guy to have, and he was very happy to have him. So, after Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined the guards and ordered that they be executed. So I don't know if they executed all 20, because it said there was guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each, and then he was guarded by 2 by each on the left and right of him, and then 2 outside as sentries. So that's a total of 20 dudes. I'm not saying that they killed them all. Does it say in the chapter which Herod this is, or you know by context? It doesn't say, Jonathan. Good. I'm glad you're paying attention there. I'll read to you another story from another source in Josephus that tells us it's Agrippa, and the story meshes so well that it's going to be the same person as far as I'm concerned. So he ordered they executed. Then Herod went from Judea to Caesarea and stayed there for a while. Don't know why, but Herod leaves. He had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon, for they now joined together and sought audience with him. So he's having a fight with Tyre and Sidon. If you remember, Jesus was condemning Tyre and Sidon for not believing in him when he did his miracles. Having secured the support of Blastus, a trusted personal servant of the king, who knows who that is, they asked for peace because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. So this whole paragraph is just about some random thing Herod was engulfed in. No doubt to the person to whom Luke is writing this, Theophilus, it meant something. There was a reason for this being important to him for whatever reason. How do we know which James it was too? Well, it says in James, the book of James, it says he's the brother of Jesus. So when it says that there's a James put to death by the sword, and it also says he was a brother of John. So he's the apostle James. So that's how we know the different ones on those particular choices. So Herod just went through all this stuff. I'm going to guess the reason why Luke is writing this is because he thinks it has something to do with why Herod dies here. On the appointed day, of course, that's why he went out there, because they were going to make peace with Tyre and Sidon. And remember, Tyre and Sidon was one of the ones that said, Jesus said, woe to you, woe, if you guys have believed my miracles, that Sodom and Gomorrah will be saved before you. So, on the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, "This is the voice of a God, not of a man." Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. This is one of my all-time favorite verses to point out whether or not the Bible exaggerates or not. Because if we take this literally, what did Herod die of? He was eaten by worms and died. So if we take this literally, then we got some crazy worms that just came up out of the ground and just devoured the guy, and he fell over to death being eaten by worms. And so it's obviously hyperbole. It is just a figure of speech that, like worm food. You guys, worm food. What is worm food? Dirt. Worms eat dirt. This guy died, and he was eaten by worms. It doesn't mean that it's a way of adding flavor to the text, and I think that's important because I think the Bible does that lots of times. And we'll go say, oh, yep, there's going to be a 10-headed dragon coming up. Everybody watch out for a 10-headed dragon, because there's going to be a 10-headed dragon. But here, he's just being flavorful. He wasn't killed by worms. He just fell down and died. It says an angel of the Lord, a messenger of the Lord, struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. So he just fell down and died right there is the point of this. There aren't killer worms, but if people ever ask if the Bible exaggerates, this is another good spot. I might also use the one where when it says that God gave them quail, he says, give us meat, we're tired of this manna, and God says, fine, I'll give you quail, I'll give you meat, not just for one day, not for a week, but for 30 days. And until it comes out of your nostrils and you loathe it. And I know people that would try to say, yep, I'm sure they were eating the quail and it was coming out their nose. And I don't think that's what it means. I think even that point, God is saying that you're going to hate this. You're going to have meat so frequently, you're going to despise this thing. So, McDonald's put worms in their hamburger one time. Oh yeah, there you go, see? But the word of God continued to increase and spread. So all this is going on, continues to grow. When Barnabas and Saul finished their mission, they returned from Jerusalem, taking with them John, also called Mark. So what I wanted to share with you was the story in Josephus that I came across. And I was like, hey, this is exactly like in the book of Acts. And so for me, it just made that story completely come alive in my head. Give me another side of it. It also to me to have this confirmed by an extra biblical source. So this is the writings of Josephus. I've kind of shared this before. I think this is the best book on the subject. This was called the Essential Josephus, Essential Writings. It's by Paul Mayer, and it's not in print anymore. You can probably find them on Amazon. And he also has a full one that has. This is the Essential Writings, and what this is any story that is exactly word for word already what's in the Bible, he leaves those things out. So it just has the coolest stuff in here, which is really fun. and if they're different, they're in here. But when I read this, and I think, man, I got to keep this in mind. So this is in here according to my footnotes, which I cannot know if they're accurate or not. But this is saying this is in AD 37 that this event happens here. Do I recommend the book? Oh yeah, this book is great. So I'm just going to skip around. It's a whole story about Herod Agrippa. And it says here, Antonia, who is Tiberius' sister-in-law, took special interest in Agrippa and tried to make him as comfortable as possible during the 6 months he spent in prison. Then Tiberius died, having appointed Gaius as his successor. One of Gaius' earliest acts was to put a diadem on Agrippa's head and appoint him king over the tetrarchy of Philip. He also gave him a golden chain equal in weight to the iron chain that had bound him. And Agrippa returned home in triumph. Oh, I skipped a whole bunch. That's not even the point. I skipped the important point. Go back. So, real in summary here. Agrippa spent lots of money in Rome. Became a close friend of his grandnephew Gaius, was Caligula. One day they're sitting out riding on a Capri. Agrippa expressed the hope that Gaius would succeed Tiberius as the emperor. This was overheard by the chariot driver and eventually reported to Tiberius, who angrily had Agrippa arrested. While he waited in chains in front of the palace, a horned owl alighted on the tree in which he was leaning. Another prisoner, a German, predicted that Agrippa would soon be released and attain the highest point of honor and power. But remember, he continued, when you see this same bird again, your death will follow within 5 days. So this Agrippa, he's this King Agrippa here, who was about to be arrested for, sedition, wanting Gaius to be emperor instead of the main guy, and says he sees an owl, and it says, when you see this owl again, your death will follow within 5 days. So that's in AD 37. I'm going to skip forward here to when it happens, and this says it's in AD 44. At this point, Agrippa's already the king, and he taken part in this story. So I'm going to, if these things are true, these side points, then this story in Acts that we're just reading about, that's where we're at in AD 44, which would have been like 7-8 years after Jesus ascends. So this here again, I'll just read you the story. After his seventh year of rule, Agrippa came to Caesarea to celebrate the games in honor of Caesar. At daybreak he entered the theater, dressed in a garment of woven silver, which gleamed in the rays of the rising sun. His flatterers started addressing him as a god, but then he looked up and saw an owl perched on a rope overhead and was struck with intense pain. I, whom you called a god, he cried, am now under the sentence of death. 5 days later he died at age 54. So this is not a Bible account. He's not saying go read this in your Bible. This is written by a guy who's not a Christian. He's just a Jew writing history. And so it's the same darn story. And it says he was wearing garments of woven silver which gleamed in the rays of the sun in the morning. And it says they all started addressing him as a god. And right then he's struck with immense pain, and 5 days later he dies, which kind of fits with what we were just seeing. I mean, it can still have happened the same way. It says, immediately, because he did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. So it doesn't say he was struck down and died right then. It says he was struck down, and then he was eaten by worms and died. So I feel like it fits really well. He's struck down with intense pain, and he says, I'm under the sentence of death. Oh, it didn't say he saw the owl. That's what I wanted to say. It said he saw the owl again. That's why I read that whole part. Oh, it did say the owl. He looked up and saw an owl perched on a rope overhead. So, anyways, I just think that's super cool and super exciting to see Bible stories confirmed in historical books. And it's just really neat. I just think that's really cool. Had worms, but died sometimes later. Yeah, and I don't think he had worms at all. Just worm food is a common way to describe someone's death. Oh, that guy's worm food. He's food for worms. You know, that was just a saying that they had in those days. And I think that's what's saying now. I don't think he actually, I mean, he was eaten by worms after he died, because that's what happened when you die. I don't personally believe that he actually had worms. Maybe he did, but I think that's a figure of speech. Death is a punishment from God. Yeah, I think maybe so. That's possible. But I've heard the term worm food or food for worms lots of times. And it does come from Greek mythology. I remember reading that in Greek mythology when I was a teenager, and I can't remember where. But I think it was in a story of Hercules, maybe. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Not a lot of really controversial topics in that, but some fun stuff. What I was just reading there, to be clear, was not a Bible. This is the writings of a Jewish man who was hired as a Roman historian. So this is just his story. This is actually the story of what happened during the war when Jerusalem was destroyed. And it's a great book. It's got shows pictures and shows how they went and how they attacked and all the different things they did. It's just really exciting. Sorry if it's buffering. It may be related somehow. I'm not sure if it's working right or not. But well, we started late, but we're getting finished at about the same time. I have a rock from the Golden Gate in Jerusalem. Oh, neat. Okay, I guess you guys are working all right. Were you raised in a religious family? Yep, my dad was a preacher, or became a preacher, my stepdad, rather. And my family was very God-fearing all growing up, but there was a time when it had to become real for me, I say, because I often wondered, did I just get born into the right family? Because it's not uncommon for kids to be the same religion as their parents. But I think there comes a time in your life that you should decide that this is real for you, and you shouldn't believe anything just because your parents do. Even though your parents are wise and smart and learned, you should have these things, wrestled down for yourself. Did I see how the clothes shopping went? It went real well. I got them all over there, sitting in bags all over there. So I'm going to place my order online, for the colored parts, probably here this evening. There's my nice couch instead. You guys can make fun of my couch some more. All right, well, I think we'll wrap things up. Who were we praying for? Was that you, Gigi, that didn't have a home? Was that right? Did you find a place to live, or am I thinking about the wrong person that we prayed for? My parents didn't go to church. My grandmother always took me, and I still attend that same church. That's awesome. Good traditions are real. Oh. Don't stop the live Bible study. Okay. You guys, would anything else come out in those things to you guys? Do you have any questions we can talk about and discuss together, or about things you're dealing with? We've got about 15 minutes to be an hour still. Get the eye ointment? No, I didn't, but my eye feels so much better today. I mean, I can touch it and it's not in giant pain. I'm kind of thinking maybe it's on the way out, and maybe tomorrow I'll be doing pretty well, so. Kathy's in the hospital, and Anaya. Okay, I wanted to say that right. see you touching. Don't even have one now. Thank you. Well, hey, Todd. Good to see you. I've been lurking in the background. Well, that's neat. Good to see you. Wondering how you guys are doing. Hold on. There you go. About the angels and messenger. Are there two different things? I'm confused. Good question. So the thing is there's the word angelos. And in Greek, it means messenger. And so the translation literally means messenger. So when it says they went to Jesus' tomb and they saw a messenger sitting on the rock, that's what it says. But it says he had clothes that gleamed like lightning, and they wanted to bow down and worship them. So this is not a messenger that's a man. This is a messenger that's one of God's messengers. The problem is that people take the word angelos, which is Greek, angel, angelos, and they take it out, and they take that picture in their mind of the angel sitting on the messenger, God's messenger sitting on the rock, and of course we hear in the Old Testament they had angels, they had wings, and that sort of a thing, and so then they take that to say, oh yeah, God's messengers, the ones with wings, and so then we now have a new word. We call it angel. It's actually taken the Greek word right out, and we've redefined it to mean God's messengers. The word angel can never be referred to in our language as a human being. You would never say, hey, you're an angel. You might actually say that, but you're saying that they're an allegory. They're like God's messengers that are super holy and wonderful when someone does something really nice to you. You don't really call somebody an angel in our day and age. I haven't updated the kid sizes under the YouTube details. I haven't, so don't follow those yet. So the deal is the word always means messenger, and I think we should, instead of confusing things by translating it sometimes as the word messenger, like in the case of John the Baptist, they translate it messenger and they write down the word messenger. But when they translate the same word, talking about the ones on the tomb, they write down the word angel, even though it's the same root word. And so the question, I think it should always be translated messenger, and then we can discuss if the type of messenger it's referring to is one of God's messengers, which is the ones with the wings and the clothes like lightning and all that, or if it's maybe possibly referring to a man who's a messenger. So I think it confuses things, and we get things like there thinking that it must be Peter's angel at the door. In reality, I think it's Peter's messenger at the door. It could be his angel, but I think that doesn't make much sense to me. And you'll see it in Revelation 2, where it says that write to the angel of the church of Laodicea, write to the angel of the church of Thyatira or Philadelphia. In reality, it says the messenger of the church of Thyatira. It's probably writing to the preacher of that church, not an actual angel of a church. Someone you know forever is really an angel in human form. Well, the Bible does say that be careful who you entertain, because you may in turn entertain angels without knowing it. But that's all we have on the matter. And they were living in a time where literally the Son of God had just died and been raised from the dead. So that was a little bit different time than we are now. And I think even then it was rare. So I don't think that's likely to happen today. It could have happened. Absolutely could happen. I'm not God. He can do whatever the heck he wants. But yeah, I don't think it's probably as common as what we would imagine it would be. Could you be entertaining messengers and not actual spiritual beings? Oh, see, now you're determined with some of the deal, Georgiana. Exactly right. So that could be what it was talking about, and actually that's what it says. It says you could be entertaining messengers and not knowing it. It could be prophets, maybe. It could have been people. It could be actual God's messengers. So, but that should be the question we should have. We should be talking about what does it mean by entertaining messengers. I think the translation is probably right in referring to them as God's messengers. I think that's probably the implication, especially when you see times where they saw Jesus, didn't know it was Jesus, and saw men at Jesus' tomb who were God's messengers, and they thought it was the gardener. And so I think that kind of fits, that is probably talking about God's messengers. But I think that's a much better conversation to have than just saying, oh, I have decided that it must definitely mean God's messengers with wings and the lightning clothes, and so I'm going to translate the Bible that way. I feel like that's being very ostentatious to be able to just say it's true and hope it's right. And you're better off translating the word, I think, correctly, and letting people debate that out in the topics. How would you know if it's a prophet? I think you wouldn't know. So if it's saying that you could be entertaining prophets and not knowing, you wouldn't know until they made themselves known. So if you recall in James, when I think is when it talks about that, it talks about talking to the poor men. You stand there or sit on the floor by my feet, talking to the poor people and talking the good to the rich people. And so I think it's important, it's more talking about that. So you have this prophet comes in, he doesn't tell you he's a prophet, and you tell him to sit on the floor by your feet, you dirty poor guy. And in reality, he may have given you a nice message or been there on a message, on an errand from the Lord. But thoughts on divine counsel at the beginning of Job? Oh man, that's right out there. So again, some people will take this to the extreme. They'll say, well, since they all mean messenger, every time the word angel comes up, it's always a human being, and there's no such thing as angels. Some people will go so far as to say that. I do not say that and do not think that's true. I think sometimes it can be backwards. The beginning of Job, in fact, the whole book of Job is a very interesting topic. Some people think it's a parable, some people think it's real. I tend to think it was real. There's too many specific cities mentioned, specific places and names and lineage of the people in the story. I think it's literally real. And so when it says that Satan presented himself before God, that tells us a whole lot of things behind the scenes there. And I don't know that we need to go into that right now. That could be a whole thing by itself. Maybe we'll jump into that. But one thing's for sure. The general idea is that Satan was cast down to earth in the Garden of Eden, and he was trapped there and was like, God, you curse you, God. I'm now stuck on earth having to mess with man. But of course, Job dispels that, right? Because Satan presents himself before God in heaven. So clearly he wasn't confined to earth at that point. I think there is a time that happens. If you recall, Jesus said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. I think that's the time when he gets cast to earth. And going back to the preterist stuff, well, you can compare that with a couple chapters in Revelation, and I think it fits very nicely. So, and I don't know if I know I may have been talking, Gigi, but did you find a house? Was that you that needed a house, a place to live, Gigi? You and your mom, is that right? Probably you can be a messenger. Well, I'm giving you a message, right? I've got a message. We're just talking about where I'm giving you the message of God through the Bible. And so in that respect, I'm a messenger. In fact, the word apostle, apostolos, it means a very similar thing. It's more appropriately like an emissary. Like if you were sending somebody to as a representative of your country and speaking for that country, to another country to have a message with them, that would be an apostle, an emissary. And they were using that term long before Jesus called the 12 disciples apostles. He dubs them apostles. You guys are emissaries of my gospel. You are going out on my behalf and going to bring my message to the people. I've appointed you as emissaries for me. And today, the word apostle is an office that only the 12 disciples had. And I do not think that that's the intention. Lighting looks clearer tonight. Not yet. Okay, that was you, Gigi. I wasn't sure if that was the same person we're talking about. So you got Gigi and Anya and is it Kathy whose mom is in the hospital? I hope that was correct. David entertained a messenger who was a human who told him of his sin with Bathsheba. Yes. Well, no. Well, yeah, he was a prophet. There is a word for prophet. And I think that was Nathan the prophet that told him that, right? Kathy's in the hospital. Okay, Kathy, gotcha. Let's look at Light Jesus Christ Superstar. Do you think it's disrespectful? I never saw it. I think I didn't want to see it because I thought it might be disrespectful, but I haven't actually watched it. I have a sty, Stacy. That's why my mom's in a nursing home and I don't know where. Oh man. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap up. We're going to go ahead and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the people who are here today and the people who are watching this on the replay. And I pray for all of them, Father, that you know the things that each person is dealing with in their life, that you would touch them and help them to get through these things, give them peace about the decisions they're making. I do pray for Kathy in the hospital, that you would help her pain to go away and that she would get out soon, and for Gigi and her mom, that you would take care of them, give them a place to live, and keep your hand on them. And on Anaya, I'm not sure how to say it, I apologize, and that you would comfort her with the loss of her dad and help her to be able to see your purpose in these things and to comfort them. And all the other people who are watching, God, who didn't bring forth a prayer request, you know what their hearts are saying, Father, and you hear their prayers and you hear their cries out in the darkness, and I pray you would give them peace and help them to know which way to turn and where to go and how to look. Help us all to live free from sin as much as we can, to turn from those things, take the way out, and help us to have a good week. Thank you for helping me get the clothes shopping done. Please watch over the kids and be with us all. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate all you guys. I'm glad you all were here. Speaking to you, Todd. Well, that's awesome, Todd. We love all you guys. You guys are all my family. I mean that. All right. See you guys later.